Okay, joining us now, Congresswoman, 10th District Republican, Paul Ryan fan, Barbara Comstock. Congresswoman, good to have you with us.
Good morning, but Paul Ryan's woman, not man.
That's right. Well, that's right. Paul Ryan's woman, so to speak. Now, I think I got you. I think I nailed your age. I said you were 39. I think I nailed that. So we'll leave it at that.
That's always a good guess for the woman.
Yeah, well, you know what? You don't stay married as long as I have without figuring some of this stuff out. Now, Congresswoman, conservatives, I'm going to be straight up here. Many in the conservative ranks, as you're a conservative, many of us have deep reservations about Paul Ryan as Speaker, and there's two reasons. Number one, we have no assurance that he's going to go to regular order. And number two, his history on open borders, amnesty, illegal immigration is off the charts. I mean, the guy is like an open borders poster child. Why should conservatives be comfortable with Paul Ryan as Speaker?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, last night when Paul came in, he spoke to us, at length and in detail. He certainly said he is for regular order. As a chairman of a committee, wants to get back to that, and talked about how we're going to all together need to work on any rules changes that we want. But I can tell you, having gone across my district over the past few weeks, since this has all come about, I had overwhelming support that I heard. He was the only name that people brought up, across the board from all different parts of our conference and our party. So there was an enthusiastic response for it, and nobody else has stepped up who has demonstrated an ability to bring everybody together. So, there's no name there that you have associated with any of the other ideas, and I think he uniquely is able to bring everybody together and has appealed to that sort of optimistic Reagan, Jack Kemp spirit to have us work together on all these issues, and that we will come to a group resolution on these issues, not have, different factions, shooting arrows in the back, instead of us going out and fighting for the American people and, taking whatever arrows we have to take from, in the front, but not shooting each other in the back.
What about the fact that he was enthusiastic about the Senate Gang of Eight, basically amnesty bill, and the fact that you look at his record, Congresswoman, and he has been an ardent, vocal supporter.
Well, I think that's a I think that's a mischaracterization. And in fact, this year we've had a number of votes on immigration where he has, voted, I guess, in line with what you are advocating, and he has addressed that he thinks we need to do things piece by piece, which is what we've been working towards, which is whether it's border security or enforcement, and not doing a comprehensive bill. That's something that really the conference together has come to a resolution on, that we want to now find doing this piece by piece. And I think that's better than doing a big overhaul, one-size-fits-all bill. And that's the way we're going to get there, is sort of base hits, not trying to do a comprehensive bill. And that's something that I think our conference overall has, come together on.
So what about the fact that Paul Ryan is asking for a litany of conditions, like I'll only run if you do this, I'll only run if you do that, I'll only run if you do this. The other candidates that are running are just trying to win. They're out getting trying to get people behind them, trying to do whatever it takes. I mean, why should Republicans anoint somebody as Speaker that's got a laundry list of conditions?
Well, listen, what Paul recognizes is that we need to have, be united in fighting for the American people and not fighting with each other. We need to do things like tax reform, which he is, one of the biggest advocates of, and understands we're not going to get this president to sign the tax reform that we as conservatives want But we can start setting that up now for the next president. Entitlement reform. He has been the leader in this country on entitlement reform and budget reform. He was out there with a budget when nobody else was. I mean, when he first did his budget, there were, maybe, a half a dozen or, fewer people who were supporting his budget. And he built and he worked and got a majority. That's how a leader operates. And doing things like, going back to some welfare reform, because this president has undone that. But we've got to have a united strategy where we work on those things. And look at this world is on fire with what is going on with this president and the Iran situation that he has, now put us in. We need a leader who's going to unite us and work with everybody across the board in our party. And last night, that is what happened when he spoke with us. So all he's saying is, listen, if we're not going to be united and go out there and work together, this isn't going to work for anybody. And there is no other person who has stepped forward. And I can tell you, all those names. I sat in a few meetings yesterday where different people came forward, and there is not anybody that has more than a half a dozen supporters behind them. You look at the beginning of this year, Louis Gohmert was the so-called conservative candidate they put forward. He got 2 votes, including his own. And I am told by a member of the Freedom Caucus that Louis Gohmert isn't even a member of the Freedom Caucus, that they voted him off the island. So, I think you have to look at who brings people together, who already has a proven record of fighting for the things we care about, who's gone out there and taken the slings and arrows from the other side, and who's been an optimistic, positive voice for our party, who understands, the millennial generation as well as, how we're going to, take care of, our elderly and everybody in between.
Okay, Congresswoman Comstock, I do have to grant you the argument that he is the first Republican to really put entitlement reform on the table, and he took a lot of heat for that. Republicans took a lot of heat for that. That definitely took some moxie, no question. So I do. I want to get to domestic politics, or the budget, if you will. We have another debt ceiling increase looming. Congresswoman, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle are just wondering when Congress is going to get serious about the debt instead of continually increasing it. Do you have any idea what the deal is in there?
Well, we're working on that. We passed a budget earlier this year that does have a 10-year, debt reduction plan. But you have to do, like talked about tax reform. We've got to have tax reform and get the economy started again if we're ever going to have any meaningful debt reduction. The reason we have had a growing deficit with this president is because of the failed policies of this president. Starting with Obamacare, starting with the job-killing regulations that he has put in place that, make it, very difficult for businesses to grow. So we have to turn that around, and that's going to require a Republican president in order to really put all the elements in place so that we can have a meaningful economy rather than grow the deficit. And then we have to have a team effort on this and a coherent policy, which this president doesn't. And unfortunately, the kind of things that we would like to do that we are going to set out before the American people over the next year will require a new president, not this one. I mean, this is a failed president that has, made the debt in all these situations worse. We know that.
What do you think the Republicans are going to do, the establishment is going to do, if Donald Trump's the nominee?
Listen, I don't fall into those categories of labels that everyone likes to put. I think we need to all be united and be Republicans in fighting for the things we care about. And, I think for people who've been out there fighting for, for decades and for many years, the world didn't start in 2010. The world started, and these battles started a long time ago. So I think when you have people out there who are, maybe making a lot of money in different groups, calling people names, I don't think that helps. I think talking about good, solid policy and, going out and fighting for wins on that basis. Look, just before we left, we had a bill to, lift the ban on oil to be able to export it. That was something everybody came together on. I can't tell you if that's an establishment or a Tea Party or a Democrat idea. What I know is that it was a winning bipartisan idea that I think brought together almost every member of our conference and Democrats, and it's great for the economy. It's great for jobs.
Right.
We had union members on board with us and Teamsters. So I think we need to stop, dealing with all those labels. I think it's kind of, junior high-ish. I think we've got to move beyond that.
All right. Well, I definitely applaud the vote on lifting the oil export ban that was put in there in the 70s. That didn't make any sense. And now
there's a deficit reduction bill that hopefully we'll put on the president's desk, and that's going to be a job creation bill, take people off the welfare rolls, start adding to the tax revenue, and you build with pieces like that, you can get a good economy. We've got, I'm very optimistic about what we can do in this country. When we have a president who has vision to be uplifting like President Reagan, I think our presidential nominee will be somebody who's uplifting, somebody who appeals to that Ronald Reagan, Jack Kemp optimistic spirit. Not somebody, I understand the frustrations. I understand people might want to, kind of yell and scream and be frustrated, but we've got to, really show people how we can provide, tax reform, how we can, go back to the good welfare reform policies that we had that put people back to work in, high-tech jobs, in energy jobs, and we can have healthcare reform that'll actually lower our healthcare costs while making people healthier. We're in a new age where we can see cures of major diseases in our lifetime. And if you just deal with a few diseases like diabetes and Alzheimer's, you're going to be saving hundreds of millions of dollars, not to mention improving the lives of tens of thousands of people who are burdened with these diseases. So I think we have to have a lot more imagination here and innovation and embrace the innovation economy. And that's where you're going to get a lot more people on board with us.
All right, Congresswoman Comstock, we're out of time. For more information, go to BarbaraComstockForCongress.com. Follow Barbara on Twitter @Barbara Comstock. And we want to thank the Congresswoman for